Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today I'm reading, so I'll start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके. Share the screen. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 7, The Killing of the Demon Trinavarta. From the text 18. Text 18. One day, a year after Krishna's appearance, Mother Yashoda was patting her son on her lap, but suddenly she felt the child to be heavier than a mountain peak, and she could no longer bear his weight. Text 19. Feeling the child to be as heavy as the entire universe, and therefore being anxious, thinking that perhaps the child was being attacked by some other ghost or the demon, the astonished Mother Yashoda put the child down on the ground and began to think of Narayan. Foreseeing disturbance, she called for the Brahmanas to counteract this heaviness, and then she engaged in her other household affairs. She had no alternative than to remember the lotus feet of Narayan. Mm. For she could not understand that Krishna was the original source of everything. Text 20th. While the child was sitting on the ground, a demon named Trinavarta, who was a servant of Kamsa, came there as a whirlwind at Kamsa's insignification and very easily carried the child away into the air. Text 21. Covering the whole land of Gokula with the particles of dust, that demon, acting as a strong whirlwind, covered everyone's vision and began vibrating everywhere with a greatly fearful sound. Text 22. For a moment, the whole pasturing ground was overcast with the dense darkness from the dust storm, and Mother Yashoda was unable to find her son where she had placed him. Text 23. Because of the bits of sand thrown about by the Trinavarta, people could not see themselves or anyone else, and thus they were illusion and disturbed. Text 24. Because of the dust storm, stirred up by the strong wind wheel, Mother Yashoda could find no trace of her son, nor could she understand why. Thus, she fell down on the ground like a cow who has lost her calf and began to lament very pitifully. Text 25. When the force of the dust storm and the winds subsided, Yashoda's friends, the other gopis, approached Mother Yashoda, hearing her pitiful crying, not seeing Krishna present. They too felt very much aggrieved and joined Mother Yashoda in crying. their eyes full of tears. Text 26. Having assumed the form of the forceful Prinville, the demon Trinavarta took Krishna very high in the sky. But when Krishna became heavier than the demon had to stop his force and could go no further. Text 27. Because of Krishna's weight, Trinavarta considered him to be like a great mountain or a hunk of iron. But because Krishna had caught the demon neck, the demon was unable to throw him off. He therefore thought of the child as wonderful, since he could neither bear the child nor cast aside the burden. Text 28. When Krishna grasped him by the throat, Trinavarta choked, unable to make even a sound or even to move his hands and legs, his eyes popping out. The demon lost his life and fell, along with the little boy, down to the ground of Braja. Text 29. While the gopis who had gathered were crying for Krishna, the demon fell from the sky onto a big slab of stone, his limbs dislocated, as if he had been raised by the throne of arrows of the Lord Shiva, like Tripurasura. Text 30th. The gopis immediately picked Krishna up from the chest of the demon and delivered him free from all the inauspicious to Mother Yashoda, because the child, although taken into the sky by by the demon, was unhurt and now free from all the danger and misfortune. The gopis and the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, were extremely happy. Text 31. It is most astonishing that although this innocent child was taken away by the Rakshasa to be eaten, he had returned without having been killed or even injured. Because this demon was envious, cruel, and sinful, he has been killed for his own sinful activities. This is a law of nature. An innocent devotee is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a sinful person is always vanquished for his sinful life. Text 32. Nanda Maharaj and the others said, we must previously have performed austerities for a very long time, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, perform pious activities for public life, constructing public roads and wells, and also given charity as a result of which this boy, although faced with death, has returned to give happiness for his relatives. X33. Having seen all these incidents in uh, Bradhavan, Nanda Maharaj became more and more astonished, and he remembered the words spoken to him by the Vasudev in Madura. X34. One day, Mother Yashoda, having taken Krishna up and placed him on her lap, was feeding him milk from her breast with the material affection. The milk was flowing from her breast, and this child was drinking it. X33 and 35 and 36. O King Parikshit, when the child Krishna was almost finished drinking his mother's milk, and the mother Yashoda was touching him and looking at his beautiful brilliant smiling face, the baby yawned, and the mother Yashoda saw in his mouth the whole sky, the higher planetary system, and the earth, the illuminaries in all the directions, the sun, the moon, fire, air, the seas, island, mountains, rivers, forest, and all kinds of living entities, moving and non-moving. Text 37. When Mother Yashoda saw the whole universe within the mouth of her child, her heart began to throb, and, and in astonishment she wanted to close her restless eyes. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of Srila Prabhupada, Canto 10. chapter The Killing of the Demon Trinavarta. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Sundaracala Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Please take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for reading today's verses. Please accept my humble obeisances, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Today we are going to discuss the chapter 7 of 10th Canto, the Saman Bonam, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the crux of Srimad Bhagavatam, the pinnacle of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are going to continue to hear it and relish it. So today we are going to discuss 7th chapter, dear devotees. Before we discuss the 7th chapter, the killing of the demon Trunavarta, and subsequent to the first Leela that baby Krishna has done, the killing of demon Putana that we have heard in the last session, and the previous session that we heard about the introduction of first 17 verses in the 7th chapter, where we heard so far about the Uttana ceremony and the killing of the demon called Sekatashura. We will continue the discussion today. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasharakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nidvisheshashoni Bhari Paschatyatishadarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. And we're going to start today from the verse number 18, the killing of demon Trunavarta. Verse number 18. One day, Mother Yashoda was patting the 1-year-old Krishna on her lap, but suddenly she felt the child heavier than a mountain peak and could no longer bear him. So Krishna was aware of the coming of Trunavarta. So who would take him far away from his mother? So Krishna knew that when Trinavarta came and took him away from his mother's lap, Mother Yashoda would be greatly bereaved. Thinking about her bereavement, he did not want her mother to suffer any difficulty from the demon. Therefore, he is the source of this verse indicates before the event even happened. So Krishna is aware of it. And therefore, and is Trinavarta an ordinary demon? He is one of the yogic mystic, they have yogic mystic powers, these demons. They are very powerful. A yogi mystic demon cannot be easily interpreted by another yogi also, because they are concealed by their own powers. Now Krishna, because he is the source of all the yogic power, so he is able to detect it. Therefore, because he is the source of everything, Prabhupada says, Janma Jasya Yator Mayat. Therefore, he assumed the heaviness of the entire universe. When the child assumed such heaviness, she had to put him down in order to give Janavat an opportunity to take him away and play with him for some time. So Prabhupada says it's an opportunity for Krishna to play on the, somewhere in other commentary of our Acharyas, to play on the wide chest of this Trunavata demon. He has sufficient ground to play. Before the child returned on the lap of the mother. Being astonished, Yashoda placed the child in the 19th verse. Being astonished, Yashoda placed the child on the ground and took shelter of Lord Narayana for Krishna's safety. Worried that some demon had done it, she called for the Brahmanas to counteract the situation. Then she engaged in her other household duties. Asa Karmasu. This is how she engaged in household duties. But before she did that, she was very, very meticulous in counteracting this danger, this impending the danger that she felt that Krishna is unsafe when child is when she felt heaviness, she felt that there is some danger, impending danger, and she immediately took shelter of Lord Narayan. So that is how devotees take shelter of Lord Krishna when there is a danger. They don't. Uh, it's and They use their best of their abilities, and something which is beyond them, they take shelter of the Lord. And Krishna is everywhere. He is, and in his impersonal form, everything rests upon him, right? Nonetheless, nachaham teshu avastita. Krishna is not everywhere also, but he is everywhere in his impersonal form. So Mother Yashoda was unable to understand this philosophy because she was dealing with Krishna and his real mother by arrangement of Yogamaya. Because he want to relish the pastimes, a motherly affection from Mother Yashoda, she continued to put her in the influence of Yogamaya. And not understanding the importance of Krishna, she could only seek shelter of Lord Narayan for Krishna's safety and call Brahmanas to counteract the situation. And Trunavatta, a demon, and a servant of Kamsa, then came there as a whirlwind and easily carried the child away into the air. Kamsa Bhruchya Pranado Pranodita. It is mentioned he was induced by Kamsa, and he is a servant of Kamsa. He's one of the Bhruchya of Kamsa. He's induced by him, go and kill Krishna. That's why he came. That is how it is described in verse number 20. The Krishna's heaviness is unbearable for Mother Yashoda. And This is a demonstration, Prabhupada says, of Krishna's inconceivable energy. When this demon came, Krishna became lighter than the grass. He was so heavy so far in the lap of Mother Yashoda, but he immediately felt lighter than a grass, so that Trinavarta could come and grasp him away, take him away. So this was Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Prabhupada says, Krishna is blissful at all times. It is dangerous situation for the material public, but it is like Ananda Chinmaya Rasa at every situation for Krishna. Krishna is blissful and he is experiencing transcendental pleasure in his pastimes. So Krishna's inconceivable energy, Aishwarya Sakti, right? Mother Yashoda, when Krishna became so heavier, and Krishna became lighter than the grass. So what is and here it is described that um, it is inconceivable Aishwarya Shakti of Krishna. And then what happened in Vrindavan area, even in today, the next 21 to 24 verse, which is describing the dust storms, which were introduced by this demon, whirlwind demon. This is very common in Vrindavan, and they are so fatal. It is, and some even die during these dust storms because they are choked, they are unprepared and not aware of the local weather. It's This is how it is described. The Prabhupada's disciples in the olden days when they went there, uh, they were shocked to see sometimes dust storms hit Vrindavan area, and Drunavarta obstructed everyone's vision. When this happens, nobody can see each other, not even themselves, and began vibrating with a fierce sound. On the top of it, Drunavarta is making very dangerous sounds, huge sounds, and everyone was terrified. For a muhurta, that means almost like 48 minutes, what happened? Entire Gokula was overcast, avrutam with dust, rajasa, and darkness. Because of the bits of sand constantly thrown about by Trunavarta, people couldn't see themselves or anyone else. Not finding her son, Mother Yashoda fainted like a cow who had lost her calf. That is how it is described in from verses number 21 to 24. You know, you might have witnessed in your real life also, even a mother of a small baby, a toddler, or a 3-year-old, or 4-year-old daughter or son, if the mother is unable to see, I have at least witnessed in exhibitions sometimes, uh, and the fairgrounds in the villages, uh, when kids disappear because they are playing and they are small, it's huge crowd. The mother, you can see that she starts becoming anxious, running here and there, thither and here. And you can, and I've seen real incidents like this where mothers start becoming mad and they will start weeping by beating their head, beating them on themselves. Why it happened like this? And somebody has to come and pacify them and ask them what is the problem before they could go and search the baby. So similar situation was explained with Mother Yashoda, which is a pure maternal affection. It is not imbued with any material affection here. Motherly affection of Yashoda is different from motherly affection of an ordinary conditioned soul. Motherly affection of Yashoda is a pure Shuddha Bhakti. And she fainted like a cow when she lost her calf. It is very uh, tiring situation, uh, which is melted hearts of so many Vrajavas. It will melt the heart of so many Vrajavasis also. Trinavarta assumed the form of whirlwind and covered with a dust storm. Now, Prabhupada says in one of the verses, mm, I think there is no purport. Yeah, no purport for any of these four verses. Now, in 25th verse, healing of the demon Trinavarta, we're continuing to discuss. The gopis are lamenting. When the dust storm subsided, the gopis went to Yashoda, hearing her pitiful crying. Not seeing Krishna, they felt aggrieved and cried with her. The attachment of gopis to Krishna is wonderful and transcendental. The center of all activities, Prabhupada, the center of all activities of the gopis, the pure devotees, was Krishna. What is their center? It's not their kids, it's not their husband, it's not their families. The center was always been. It's not that they were insensitive to the crying of Mother Yashoda, difficulty of Mother Yashoda. They were not always thinking about their own families, their own children, but much they were thinking about Lord Krishna because they have already cultivated the mood of having keeping Krishna at the center, though they are living in different families separately within Vrindavan. And when Krishna was there, they were very happy. When Krishna was not there, they were unhappy. Thus, when Mother Yashoda was lamenting Krishna in Krishna's absence, the other ladies also began to cry, sob piteously. Trinavarta's helplessness is described in the next two verses. When Trinavarta took Krishna high in the sky, Krishna, who held his neck, became as heavy as a mountain or a hunk of iron. The demon was overburdened and couldn't move ahead. He could neither bear the weight of the wonderful child nor cast aside his burden. Now, here is a competition, Prabhupada says, of competition in yogic power between Krishna and Dhrunavarta. And how is that? Eight siddhis, anima, lagima, mahima, prapti, rakama, ishitva, vashitva, kama, vashaita. So these are the these are primary eight siddhis of yogic mystics, right? And but although a demon may acquire such powers to a very limited extent, he cannot compete with the mystic power of Krishna. For Krishna is Yogeshwara, the source of all the mystic power. Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna. No one can compete with Krishna. Sometimes, of course, having acquired a fragmental portion, Prabhupada says, fragmental portion of Krishna's mystic power, Asuras demonstrate their power to fool the public and assert themselves to be the God. There are so many Babas who claim themselves to be the God, even in the current day. not knowing that God is the supreme Yogeshwara. Just by manifesting some little, even in villages, they come and cheat people. And Trunavata assumed the Mahima Siddhi. And Krishna, what did he do? He showed the source of all the Mahima Siddhis in this creation because he is the source. And he overpowered Trunavata. And by doing that, now Trunavata is choked. He is unable to breathe. He is unable to get rid of Krishna. He is holding on to the neck so tightly. That was the situation. Neither he could get rid of Krishna, nor he could get relief from the choking of his neck. And Krishna also became a mystic Mahima Siddha. Yashoda was carrying. And now Prabhupada is saying, one should not therefore compete with Krishna's mystic power. That is the lesson here. Okay, one might become powerful at one point, so influential at one point, but always never compete with Krishna. Their yogic power is demonstrated by Krishna's mercy. People might demonstrate some yogic power. Prabhupada is saying, but it is demonstrated by Krishna's mercy. That one should not forget, even if one was bestowed with such powers. Foolish people who do not care to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from authorities consider some rascal yogi to be Bhagavan. They will add this word Bhagavan in front of these people, right? Oh, this is Bhagavan, Baba is coming, like that. So Prabhupada is saying, foolish people who do not care to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they don't know the reality. From the right source, from the authorities, consider some rascal yogi to be Bhagavan. That is the misleading that happens to the common public. And when these cheaters come and cheat, what happens? They think all sadhus are cheaters. And people are staying away from bhakti. People are staying from ultimate objective goal of the life. That is the situation, that is the danger of these kind of false spiritual masters, false yogis, false bhagwans. And the next verse, 27, is already been covered. Mm. And 28 to 29, killing of the demon has been described. So Krishna's fear is as if he is fearful, right? Playing the part of a small child. Krishna seemed afraid of falling from that height and therefore clung to Trinavarta's neck. Because he was choked, now he is falling, free falling from he went to Antariksha. Actually, he went to the sky beyond the atmosphere of the earth. He went to even the Antariksha, which is space. Uh, and he is falling from there now back to the earth after his life breath has been choked by Krishna's hold. Now, at that time, Krishna is appearing as if he is fearful, but he is falling down. So he is holding the neck of the Trinavarta while falling down fearfully. In the transcendental life, as soon as devotee of Lord merge in lamentation, now what is described? While the gopis who had gathered while crying for Krishna, the demon fell from the sky into the big slab of stone, his limbs dislocated, as if he had been pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva, like Tripurasura. This episode where demons and demigods are fighting, when yes, Tripurasura caused havoc, and demigods were baffled how to fight now. At that time, in that situation, Shiva had to come and intervene and kill this Tripurasura who was exhibiting so many mystic things and throwing mountains, this and that, and they were unable to. Demigods were unable to fight straightforwardly because these demons are exhibiting the magic tricks. So Shiva had to intervene and kill Tripurasura. So now this Leela of Krishna of killing Tripurasura was compared to that Leela done by Shiva, Lord Shiva, and killing Tripurasura demon. Lord Krishna landed right next to the motherly gopis, where because he wanted to extinguish at once their grief quickly. since they were lamenting intensely. So, verse number 30, the gopis immediately picked up Krishna up from the demon's chest and gave to Mother Yashoda. Gopis and Gopas felt happy seeing the innocent child returning unhurt, uninjured, and free from danger, despite being taken high into the sky by man eating Rakshasa. Usually, these cannibalistic Rakshasas, when they take away the babies, it is in those days, they used to think it's gone. Now we lost our child. They thought the same. The baby Krishna is a little, he's an unprotected, very vulnerable child. And they thought the child is gone. And they were lamenting. Now it is a wonderful act that that demon who took that Rakshasa is dead and the baby is safe. That is the biggest wonder. So the demon fell flat from the sky, Prabhupada says, and Krishna was playing on the chest very happily, uninjured, and free from misfortune. So, in any condition, Krishna is Sachidananda Vigraha. He has no unhappiness, Prabhupada says. Others might have thought that he was in difficulty, but because the demon's chest was sufficiently broad to play on, the baby was happy in all respects, Prabhupada says. And verse number 31 is mentioning here, an envious person is ruined by his own sins. This is the lesson from Tunavarta episode. Himsa swapapena vihimsita kalaha. And an innocent person is relieved from all fears due to his equanimity. It is mentioned, himsa swapapena vihimsita kalaha. This is one lesson. That means an envious person is ruined by his own sins. The kala person, envious person. And what about the sadhu? The contrast is given in the last line of the 31st verse. Sadhu samatvena bhayad vimuchyate. Innocent person is released from all fears due to his equanimity. Krishna conscious life means innocent devotional life. You don't have to be super intelligent to be successful in life. Innocent devotional life is good enough actually. And sadhu is one who is fully devoted to Krishna. That is the main ingredient of life. And if one quality of fear is one aspect of material life, Prabhupada says, Ahar Nidra Bhayamaitunascha. These are the fears, anxieties in anybody's life, not just humans, but even in the case of animals. But in humans, more sophisticated fear, more sophisticated bhaya, because it complicates the life. And with over industrialization, over necessities beyond what they need, right? Over endeavor. So the problems and anxieties are also more multifold. So that's why Prabhupada says, Shrunvatam Sukata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. In devotional life, one has to have faith in this process of devotional life. And how does it happen? By Shrunvata, nicely hearing it from bona fide sources, the Krishna Katha. Then one will gain faith. Slowly they will come to this stage of Sharanagati. Rakshishyati iti vishwasah. That Krishna will protect me in all circumstances. That faith will establish 100%. Rakshishyati iti vishwaso. And Krishna will protect that person also. It's not that it is a theory or some sentiment. And Prahlada Maharaja and Dhruva Maharaja have been put into difficulty even by their own father and saved under all circumstances. Therefore, our only business, Prabhupada says, is to become Krishna conscious and depend fully on Krishna for all protection by putting our own efforts, of course. And the next verse, Vrajavasi's thought, we must have performed austerities, worship of Lord Vishnu, public welfare acts, uh, purte, and sacrifices, Ishta Dattam, many sacrifices. We might have done so many charities, Dattam. As a result, this boy has returned to give happiness to all of us. That's what the Vrajavasis thought. Mm. And here it is mentioned by Prabhupada. Mm. Nanda Maharaja confirmed that by his pious activities, one can become a sadhu, so that one will be happy at home and one's children will be protected. This is the biggest worry of the parents. My child has to be protected. Shouldn't have get into dangers. And how does it can be achieved? It cannot be. Balasya neham sharanau pitaro nrusimha natasya chagata mudanmati majjatono. A, a child who is fallen sick in life-threatening situation is not protected by a doctor or Lord Narsimhadev. It is protected by you. So the parents have to realize that first. Only the child can be protected by you. And that's why here Nanda Maharaj is confirming how we should need to get protection by he invited the sadhus to recite to perform nice rituals, uh, uh, and blessings. He invited sadhus, pure sadhus, to come and bless their children, right? And that is what is going to give the protection. Nanda Maharaj exhibited that characteristic here. And one should perform austerity to control one's desires, and one must simultaneously worship the Supreme. These two things should happen parallelly. One should put an attempt to follow an austerity, though he has the ability to engage the resources he has in his sense gratification. He must voluntarily take up austerity of not unnecessarily engage in sense gratification in parallel with worshipping of Supreme Lord Krishna. These two things have to go in parallel, Prabhupada says. As a result, one is happy even in material conditions of life. That is how one can be happy. And Društva, in next verse is mentioned, having seen all these incidents in uh, Bruhadvana, this happened in Bruhadvana, the Prunavatra killing. Nanda Maharaja became astonished and remembered Vasudeva's words at Mathura that he heard that there might be a danger, please go immediately. So he immediately remembered Vasudeva's words. And Mother Yashoda, in the next few verses, it is what happened. One day, Mother Yashoda was feeding her milk to Krishna on her lap. Yashoda looked at child's beautiful smiling face. Then baby yawned, and Yashoda saw in his mouth the whole sky, the higher planets, the earth, the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the fire, the seas, islands, mountains, rivers, and all kinds of living entities. Her heart began to throb, and in astonishment, she wanted to close her restless eyes. By the arrangement of Yogamaya, Krishna's pastimes with Mother Yashoda were all regarded as ordinary. Krishna was kind enough to show his mother the Virat Rupa. Prabhupada is saying. What did Krishna show now is the universal, one type of universal form to Mother Yashoda, which is very pleasing, not like the so ferocious that Arjuna has seen, so that she could enjoy seeing what kind of child she had on her lap. And so that is it, dear devotees. Actually, there is a couple of verses that will appear in some versions of Srimad, not some versions. Bhagavatam technically has two extra verses that appear in some editions that are listed in the last purport of today, which is 37th verse. If you have time, you can refer them. So let me conclude. The Leela Shakti, Krishna's Aishwarya is displayed, although no demons attacked him. Sorry, the Leela Shakti of the Lord showed the powers within the Krishna in order to pacify Mother Yashoda, who had become dried up by previous fears and worry about future disturbances. That's why Mother Yashoda was given this Virat Roop Darshan in her mouth. And that is it for today, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So well said.